Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting. This month is the predictions for the month of November 2024, and I have my lovely returning guest with me, Susan Reynolds. Thank you so much for joining me again.
My pleasure. Love being here.
Oh, I love doing this with you, and it's interesting because now we're getting into the time that we've both kind of been speaking about. I remember at the very beginning of January 2024, I was talking about how the top part of 2024 would be okay. It's not the storm yet. It's the calm before the storm. But I said the second half of 2024, going into July, August, September, October, November, December, those are the months that we need to be aware of and watch our own energy and then sit back and grab the popcorn out for the next level Hollywood. Because remember, I've been saying that last few months about this next level Hollywood stuff. And it really is next level Hollywood. So I just wanted, we'll talk about that a little bit later and my thoughts on everything that's happening down in the US, because what you guys do today affects us tomorrow, right? We're very so intricately connected. So I'm going to be quiet now and let Susan take the floor on what the energies are saying for the month ahead. So welcome, Susan.
Well, thank you. That is a really good way to put it, because the United States is sort of like the big kid on the block. Whatever happens in the United States affects the world. And you're sitting right there at our doorstep. So it absolutely affects Canada, often in a big way. When I started to look at what's going on astrologically in November, I thought about you, Patricia, because the first thing that jumps out at me, that jumps out at most any astrologer who's looking at this month, is the fact that we have Mars fighting with Pluto. This is not some, they're opposing each other. So the energies are like this. This is not a delicate, comfortable, calm kind of energy. Pluto is a planet of intensity, of power. It's the planet that rules atomic energy and explosions. You know, think of the atomic bomb exploding everywhere. Pluto is often secretive. It is what's going on behind the scenes. It is sometimes violent or has the capacity to be violent. This is the planet that rules the mob, that rules organized crime, what's underneath, not something that's very clear and above board. So we're talking about a big major energy. Now we have Mars coming in. It's like poking the bear. Mars is active, it's forceful, it's dynamic. It's not a planet that says, let's sit down and talk about this. It says, no, punch now, talk later. You know, I'm angry, I'm going to do something. As these two planets are fighting each other, the word that keeps coming to my mind is explosive. And think about you. And yes,
Yeah,
you were picking
Susan.
this energy up last month.
Yes, and it's so true.
So
And you know what? I just even on my Facebook, I put on there, if you guys follow me, you'll know in the last couple days I wrote down, I said, "Hey, reminder to light workers that when you're doing God's work, the devil comes after you double time, twice as hard." So I have seen so much explosive behavior in this past month from people where I'm just like, "What? It doesn't match what's going on." You know what I mean? So that's really cool that the to know that the planets are affecting that because I've seen it. I've seen that. So sorry, go ahead. You're right.
it's fine. When when planets are doing certain things in the sky, it affects us on a personal level, it affects our nation on the national level, and it affects the world on an international level. Now, if you're talking to an astrologer who can kind of give you some heads up, you can take ownership of that energy and hopefully make good decisions with these energies happening instead of trying to avoid them or hide from them or have them beat you over the head kind of thing. So I remember your Facebook post a few weeks ago about pray for the United States. There's an
Yes.
explosive energy happening in the United States. That's
Yes.
this. This is what's going on. Now, I don't know how much your country knows about our political system. I'm woefully uneducated about the Canadian system, so I'm not taking for granted that anybody understands American politics any more than we do. But on November 5th, right at the beginning of the month, we are having a presidential election. And our country is the most divided I have ever seen the country.
Yeah.
We have two candidates running against each other. Each one is calling the other one everything but a child of God. There's division in families. It's like a bloodless civil war.
Yes.
Everybody's mad at everybody else. It's not just that they disagree. It's that if you disagree, somehow you're the enemy. So
Yeah.
this is a very, very contentious election in our country. I wish we were not having Mars opposite Pluto in a contentious election, but there it is. This is what's happening. We are. So although intuitively, I don't necessarily see a lot of violence on the day of or at election polls or poll workers or things like that, whoever wins, it means somebody loses.
Yes.
And whoever loses is not going to take this well.
Yeah.
Is the best way I know how to describe this. So we're going to see one candidate who may be calling on violence. Think about the January 6th insurrection, calling on violence for his followers, but we may also see, other people mad at this party. There's so much infighting, lots of legal stuff that's going to be going on, because regardless of who wins and who loses, both parties in our nation in November are going to be dragging all kinds of election cases into the courts.
Yeah,
so we're going to see big headlines and fighting. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to ask, regardless of what country you are in, as you are watching this, please pray for our country. Because the United States is a bit of a hothead country on a regular day.
Yeah.
So these kinds of energies are going to push all kinds of buttons that I wish they weren't going to push, but they are. So we need to stay grounded. And Patricia, you and I have talked about this many times, about the need to stay grounded and not let yourself get caught up in the violence and name calling and finger pointing. So I'm just going to reiterate that.
Yeah.
I am going to say November is a particularly challenging month for this country. Now, I'm also going to say Canada is also a Cancerian country. There also is sun sign Cancer. So for September and October, we have had Mars in the sign of Cancer. And that can be a little feisty. That, we were just talking about this, how people seem to be cranky and easily irritated and triggered and all the rest of this. Mars in Cancer often brings up family issues. Now, I hope every single person has a delightful family with very healthy boundaries who love and support one another. But on the off chance that your family doesn't have that, this can bring up stuff. This can trigger stuff. This may be old wounds that you thought, oh, I was in therapy, I dealt with that, now I'm fine. Boom, comes back around again.
Yeah.
So there may be some things going on here in our personal life that we have to pay a bit more attention to. And Leo, Mars is going to be in Leo for November and December. So some of the family stuff is going to calm down a little bit. But Leo wants to be seen. Leo is a big energy. Leo is social, which is great for inviting people over and having parties and enjoying life. But Leo can sometimes cross that line from healthy ego into deep-esque territory, We're the only ones who can decide where that line is. When do you say, thank you, I'm so glad you enjoy my work. Thank you for the compliment. And where do we say, oh yes, it was nothing. I'm so fabulous. We may find other people thinking, well, she's a little full of herself, but where does he get off saying that? We may have to look at other people's egos. They may come a little bit into our face. And we may have to look at our own ego. Now, this is a really good energy if you struggle with your ego, if you struggle to express yourself, if you're uncomfortable with compliments, this energy is for you because this can really help you. But we're all going to have to sort of find that balance. So I'm really going to hope that for those of you who are oh, it was nothing, can stand up and say, thank you, I appreciate this. It is a big month with a lot of major things going on. And some of them may be volatile. When I say explosive, of course, because so much is going on in my country, the election is the first thing I think of. But that's not the only way we can experience this. Think of geographical. You know, we may have an earthquake that happens. We may have a volcano that explodes. You know, an energy erupting may happen in the physical earth as well as in our life or our government or whatever. So we may see a lot of things going on in other countries. It may feel a little overwhelming. It's not going to last for forever. It's going to be there. It's going to make its influence out, and then it's going to move on. So don't think that what's happening at the beginning of November is it from now on. It is not. It is going to be a better energy, but we have to sort of get through the eye of the storm. Because it's going to be a little uncomfortable. Is that sort of like what you were feeling when you started to feel the explosions and were asking people to pray for the US?
100%. And it's interesting because that week, I remember I did it on a Friday and I got the message on the Wednesday, ask people to pray, get them together. And because there is power in numbers when we come together and we're all focused on the same thing. And the coolest thing happened. So I did an emergency prayer circle for weather modification for Hurricane Milton. And literally as we were praying, it went from a category 5 to a category 3. And it by the time it hit land, especially because I had quite a few of my last retreat attendees that were actually from that area in Florida and were right in the path of destruction, and it didn't come near them. I had one lady who was telling me, she goes, Patricia, look at my neighborhood. She goes, look at all the houses. Everything was smashed and like trees into cars and houses. And her house, and she goes, I didn't even board up my windows and nothing touched her house. That's the power of prayer. It really, really does work. And so I did another one because it's like, something's going on. I can feel it. Let's thwart this because it's nefarious energy. Now I got to tell you something that was really, really bizarre. So, and I mean it when I say when you're doing God's work, the devil comes after you double time. That came to me after, so the night before I did the prayer circle, when I was sleeping, when I was dreaming and astral traveling, the whole night I was being attacked by demonic energy. And the craziest thing was when I saw the demon in my dream, I smelt it before I saw it. And it smelled like rotten sulfur, and it was like, oh, and even in my dream or in my astral state, I know I wasn't dreaming, but since it happened at night, you know, the two are very similar or feel very similar. But I could actually smell it, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, that's what you guys smell like. I forgot you guys smell like rotten sulfur. And so anyways, yeah, it was very, very real. And instantly I started praying my mother's prayer of protection that she taught me. If anyone is interested, I'll leave it in the description of this video. It is the strongest prayer of protection that I know. Thank God she gave it to me. She drilled it into me when I was from about the age of 3, 4. I've known this prayer, and it's a heavy duty prayer. It's not a child's prayer. It's a you're going and you're going now prayer. And so you guys, when you say it with power and authority in your voice, almost like you are commanding it out and away. And so that's what I did the night before, even in my sleep, in my dream, in my astral state, I was praying that prayer, and then boom, got shoved right back into my body. And so it's interesting how we're doing battle in these different dimensions as well. And so I'd be interested if anybody, wants to drop a line in the comments if you're battling in the astral as well, if you're battling in your sleep, if you're having more, dark nightmares or anything like that, let me know. I'll pray for you. we'll put that shroud of protection around you so nothing can come near you, because that stuff's very real. And as the veil begins to thin even more, which we're in it, and I gotta say, I'm telling you, on April 8th, when they turned that CERN thing back on, that's when our reality started changing. And I felt it, and I still feel like we're floating on their timeline, or that they have control over the timelines that's happening right now, or something. Something was turned on when they turned CERN back on. And I know that that is shifting our reality. And it doesn't necessarily feel like it's in a good way. And I think that's why it's been on my heart to pray so much, and prayer is such a personal topic for me too. So I can't even believe that I'm putting myself out there and going, pray with me, you guys. Come on, we got to do this. There's power amongst us when we come together. This is how we create a better life, a better world. We call it in through us. We become that difference, and we show others how to become that difference in their life so that they can then spread it. And that's how we spread light. One person that carries that very high vibrational frequency has the power to shift up to 750,000 people. And I know it's more. I know it's more than that, because you look at social media, you get one video that goes viral, and it now all of a sudden, all of those people who watched it, they are in a higher mind frame because of the information that they just learned, right? You get one video that goes viral that's full of light, and look how quickly it spreads. So I think it is a time to come together, no matter where you are. I'm up in Canada. I'm up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but I'm going to pray for you. And if anybody else watching this needs prayer in their country, comment. I will pray for you. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. This is what we signed up for. I'm here for it. So I'm just going to continue to show up every day, do the work. And that's all we can do, you guys. We are going through a super heavy time period, but I promise you there's chapters in our books. Like when I do a reading, every person is like, I'm pulling your book off the shelf of life, the Akashic Record Library, whatever you want to call it. There is a book that has your name on it, that has everything you've ever thought, done, anything, any intention while you're here. It is recorded. It absolutely is. Don't think that your thoughts are private, because they're not. But within that book, there's chapters, and chapters usually last 7 to 10 years in a person's life. And so I know that for the people who are shifting chapters right now, starting over and moving back down to a number 1, that usually happens with blow ups. It does. You know why? Because we're never the same after we've had a catastrophic blow up, whether it's all of a sudden, you gain wisdom in your marriage and now you want a divorce, or, unfortunately, if somebody passes away, that's a catalyst. It's all here to teach us something. Even the worst possible day of our lives, it's here to teach us something. And I know this on a personal scale too, because that was the evolution of the person that you see sitting in front of you. It was through my absolute worst day of my life that I became and stepped into this life, right? But I needed something to shake me up in order to blow open my abilities, and for me to actually start paying attention and concentrating on this stuff, right? So what you concentrate on, what you focus on, expands. So right now, be focusing on your strength, on what you love, what brings you joy. And that's even in your career. Find what brings you joy. Even if you don't love your job, but you can't walk out on it yet, find the parts that bring you joy and focus on that. Master your skill, because we're all here to become masters of our reality. I truly believe that. And I believe that if you're watching this, you're one of the people that have been chosen to make a difference in this world. Or you wouldn't even be watching this. You wouldn't have cared, what we had to say. Flip the channel, you know what I mean? But the message is being perceived for a reason. And so I just think that the beauty of the internet brings us all together, and that's what's needed. That's what's needed right now, more so than ever. So when I have my little emergency prayer circles and stuff, jump online with me, and because you'll see it and you'll be called to it for a reason. So does that make sense?
I love
I know
that.
I went off on a little tangent there.
Very well said. That's where you get the best information. Universal law States, that which we give thanks for, we increase in abundance. So whatever you want to bring into your life, you give thanks for whatever level is there. If you want more money, you give thanks for the prosperity you have now. If you want more love, give thanks for the love that's in your life. If you want better health, give thanks for the parts of your body that are healthy and working right. That which we are thankful for. This is why religions and New Age thought keeps talking about gratitude, 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 because that helps manifestation. It's what moves manifestation. These new energies, I don't know that I should mention this, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it, even though this is more about next year in 2025. 2025 is a big, big astrological year. And I'm probably going to be talking about this next month in January and what have you. Because next year, we have Jupiter changing signs from Gemini into Cancer for the first time in a year. We have Saturn changing signs from Pisces into Aries for the first time 2.5 years. We have Uranus changing signs from Taurus into Gemini for the first time in 7 years. We have Neptune changing signs from Pisces into Aries for the first time in 12 years. Not to mention, we have Pluto, which will be staying 100% in Aquarius for the first time in the last 248 years. Wow. That is a lot of astrological energy happening next year. And for those people who are sensitive, you're already starting to pick up bits and pieces of something you may not be able to language. Something feels different, or I just think next year is going to be a big year, or you're already starting to get those little taps on the shoulder. Yeah. And Patricia and I have talked about doing a joint preview, predictions for 2025, which we're working on because it's going to be a big year for everybody. And you want to take those big energies and own them and use them on your terms. You don't want to have to react to them. You want to be in charge of them. Yes. So this is what we're looking at. And this month in November, it's not too soon to start looking at some of this stuff. It's a big month. It's a big deal. I was going to say it's a BFD, but then I wasn't sure I could say that on podcast. So we'll just say it's a big deal. Yeah. I was watching some podcast and the person doing it started spelling a lot of things. She says, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm spelling out words like you do for children when you're spelling something. Oh, that's awesome. Spelling TREAT in front of the dog, kind of thing. So November kicks off right at the beginning of the month, November 1st. We have a new moon in Scorpio. Now remember, November is Scorpio. Sun's in Scorpio. We are Scorpio season. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Here we are back to what's hidden, what's underneath, what's intense. What are we not seeing? As we move into 2025, for everybody in Canada and the US, across the world, it is going to be a year of secrets unveiled, of things that were hidden coming to light. And think about P. Diddy. And we talked about this last month, all these things that were behind the scenes. Whoa, now it's in the national news. We're going to see other things happening, not just with him, with religious leaders, with political leaders, with, movie stars, what have you, kind of thing. People in the news, we're going to see that which was behind the brick wall. That wall's going to crumble, and this is going to start coming out. November is the month of secrets. It is where, Scorpio is very reserved. It's a powerful sign, but it's very private, very reserved. They don't wear their heart on their sleeve. You have to earn the trust of a Scorpio. So if you know any Scorpios, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They don't open the doors and throw them open to everybody. Like, let's see what's going on here first, Yeah. But once Scorpio accepts you, they're the most loyal person around. So right at the beginning of the month, November 1st, new moon in Scorpio. I love new moons. New moons are about creating. New moons are about new beginnings. You can do all kinds of ceremony work under new moons in Scorpio because you're creating, and Scorpio is the sign of transformation. What in your life do you want to transform? Yeah. November 1st and all of November, this is where the power is coming to help you transform it. So don't be afraid to take charge of that. and to look at what would you want your future to be. And we may think, oh, that's just pie in the sky and nonsense. But no, this is the time where we start transforming, where we start manifesting on our terms. And that's a powerful thing. This new moon is going to be at 9 degrees Scorpio. So if you have any planets close to 9 degrees Scorpio in your chart, they're going to be activated by this moon. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. It's you may start to have deep feelings come to the surface. You may start to see things in a different way. You may start to see secret motivations. Oh, I bet what they really want is blah, blah, blah. You're starting to look past the veil. So I love this new moon. I'm very excited about it. I'm already thinking about ceremony work I want to do on November 1st to kick off the month and to kick off that power of having Scorpio work for you. But then on the 15th of the month, that's when we get our full moon. We get a new moon when the sun and the moon are in the same sign. They're together. You get like a double dose. So we're kicking off November with a double dose of Scorpio energy.
Wow.
But on the 15th, the moon's going to be in Taurus, which is the sign opposite Scorpio. So we get a full moon when the sun and the moon are opposite each other. That's why we look up in the sky and we see the full moon. That's the illumination of them being opposite each other. Full moons, how can I put this? This is when our inner self and our outer self are at odds. You know, both Scorpio and Taurus are quite stubborn. Sorry, I do not mean that in a negative way. There's time to time we all dig our little heels in and are stubborn, but both Taurus and Scorpio are stubborn. But Scorpio is very intense. Taurus is much more laid back. You know, Scorpio can be very extreme. It's black or white. They don't deal with shades of gray in the middle. Taurus is very, can't we all just get along? Why don't you just chill? Let's have a little glass of wine or a beer and talk about it, you know? So you've got this very intense energy struggling with this very, you know, can't we just, you know, have a nice time? Leave me alone. I don't want to have to deal with these big things. So there's going to be a little struggle there. Now this full moon in Scorpio, it's going to happen at 24 degrees. I think it's 24 degrees. I wrote it down. Yep, I'm right. 24 degrees Taurus. So again, if you have planets near 24 degrees Taurus, they're going to be activated. And you may be a little more agitated. You may be a little bit more triggered because Scorpio is rather emotional and Taurus is much more practical and down to earth. But I love Taurus moons. I just love them. The moon enjoys being at Taurus. I feel very relaxed. You know, I'm going to suggest a little experiment that people can do in the month of November. Every day that you wake up, on a scale of 1 to 5, notice how you're feeling. Are you woken up in a good mood? Are you looking forward to the day? Or sometimes, you know, we just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. We're just cranky. Doesn't mean anything is wrong. We just wake up and we're like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. Just keep a little number every day, 1 to 5. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. How do you feel? Then notice how you feel around the new moon, around the full moon. I do not always handle full moons well. I'm a 5 around a full moon. You need to steer clear of me, you know. I tend to get a bit cranky. I get impatient. I get annoyed with myself more easily. You know, I tend to be somebody you might want to tiptoe around a little bit during a full moon. I have trouble sleeping, you know. On the other hand, I'm super psychic during a full moon. So it's sometimes it's positive, sometimes not so much. But keep that calendar for a month and see if your moods are tied to the moon.
Good call.
We have a big deal happening in November because we actually have 2 new moons happening in the month of November. Usually we have 1 new moon, 1 full moon every month. Next month, right at the tail end of November, on November 30th, we have another new moon.
Wow.
This one is Sagittarius. So the month of November has bookends. New moon on the 1st, right at the beginning, new moon at the end, right at the end.
So what does that mean?
Bookcased with these energies.
What does that mean? Like, what would that do?
It means we have the opportunity. This is going to bring up new ideas. The second new moon is in Sagittarius. This is going to be learning, studying, teaching. Sag has a very strong energy with marketing, advertising, social media. How do we want to get our message out? How do we want to reach people? What do we want to say?
Yeah.
Do we want to write a book? I always think everybody has a book in them. Everybody has something to say. Do we want to write an article? How do we want to be seen? Sagittarius is an extrovert. Scorpio definitely an introvert. They don't want to talk to anybody. But Sagittarius wants to talk to everybody. They're the life of the party. So we have this big energy at the end of the month that is going to, I'm not going to say push people, but offer people the opportunity to study and to learn, to explore new subjects, to be interested in taking an online class, to go to a retreat, to put together your own workshop. We all know how to do something well. This is where you become both the student and the teacher. So I always talk to people about the cup being tilted. We want to pour out our knowledge, but as we're pouring it out, we're making space for new knowledge to come to us. So the more that we share, the more that comes through. And Patricia, you know this because there have been times we have been doing this podcast, and in the middle of the podcast, either you or I are getting something. We're getting a download right in the middle.
Totally. It just pops right on in.
And we're going with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't edit these videos or anything. I don't really know how, you guys. So yeah, we just throw it up as is, and what comes out of our mouth comes out of our mouth. Sometimes a little bit unfiltered, and we say trigger words that we shouldn't say, and then the video doesn't do as well. But hey, I like to speak my truth. I like to be unfiltered. So, whatever does come through, I just let it flow. Totally. And but with that being said, I must say, you guys, we do need to put on a little bit of a filter on what's flying out of our mouths, because it is explosive energy out there. So just, try and think before you speak, or take that step back before, you lose your mind on someone, just because I think that the world is it feels like it's mounting. It feels just like it's getting angrier and angrier, to be honest with you. It looks angry out there. And I know that this is literally the time period now. We've reached it. We're here. This is the time period that we've been talking about. And so just notice how it affects you, because it's going to affect everyone on a global scale, politically, economically, right down to physically. It's an energy that's coming in, right? And so it is, like you said, it's how we work with it that matters the most. So for right now, while we're trying to manage the calibration, we just need to make sure that we put a little bit of constraint on our words, and just try not to cause unnecessary arguments and drama.
Well, I'm going to mention Sagittarius is the sign of truth. And Sagittarius is not really known for being the most tactful sign in the zodiac.
Okay.
This is where our truth comes flying out of our mouth. We may be right, but 10 minutes later we think, oh, I could have said that better. Maybe that was a little too blunt. It's where somebody says, oh, I can't wear these pants anymore. They make me look fat. And you're like, oh, yeah, you should have gotten rid of those years ago. Might not be the best way to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially at home, with kids, with families, people were not always paying attention to what we're saying. We're not on our guard around our family, and it comes out, and we can accidentally hurt somebody's feelings. And we may be spending a lot of time taking our foot out of our mouth. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you took that wrong. I didn't mean it that way. So this is where astrology says, be a bit more thoughtful, be a bit more clear. Take time to think about what you want to say and how you want to say it, because you'll go further. You'll be listened to better, and you'll be communicating better. But it may not be the easiest thing. So at the end of November, you and I, Patricia and I, will be doing our talk for December. because we meet up a few days before the beginning of the month and we record this. And
Yeah.
we may be talking about, oh yeah, you'll never guess what I said, or I made the biggest blunder the other day. It just comes out. So we can work on this. We can be aware. And one of the things, the reasons we do this is to help people be empowered,
Yeah.
is to help people be
Absolutely.
aware. When you're
Yeah.
aware, oh, that may be a little more difficult, we can take some time and say, you know what, I'm just going to write this out to make sure I hit my points, to make sure I say it right. It's a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful energy for communication, but it can be a little blunt. It can be a little too much honesty and truth in that moment. So be careful.
Yeah.
I'm also going to say, I told you a lot going on in November. We have Mercury getting ready to turn direct. I mean, turning retrograde from direct motion. So for a lot of November, we're going to have a retrograde Mercury. Don't you just love that? Don't you
Oh,
just love
what does that
retrograde
mean?
Mercury? Mercury is our sign of communication, our daily communications.
Okay.
When that planet is retrograde, it seems it's not really doing this, but from the point of view of the Earth, it looks like it's going backwards instead of going forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that means it often affects our day-to-day communication. We lose information on the computer. We have a glitch on our phone. You know, the car is making a funny noise. You know,
Yeah.
we miss appointments. Oh no, my appointment was at 2 o'clock. I thought it was at 3 o'clock. We're going like this. We're at cross purposes. And most of us in a Western industrialized countries, we're busy. We have appointments, we have work, we have kids, we have carpool. We're busy. We got that list going on in our minds of what we have to do today. So when Mercury goes retrograde and the phone isn't working and the computer's not doing what it's supposed to do and appointments are getting missed, we tend to get more frustrated. We get annoyed. We are not necessarily patient as what we should be. Now,
Mm-hmm.
add this in. We're going into the holiday season. I call December the crazy month.
It really is.
Because everybody's off schedule. You've got shopping and parties and gift giving and decorating, and every year I say I'm going to love it and I'm going to really own it, and every year by December 20th I'm banging my head on the wall going, make it stop,
Amazon.
So I don't
Amazon.
know. Yeah, absolutely. So you don't want to be ordering from Amazon when Mercury's retrograde, because your package goes to the wrong place, or it's delayed, or they're out of stock and forgot to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
This is why it's annoying. It's not bad, it doesn't destroy our life, but it's annoying. So I'm going to say whatever you're doing for the holidays, because this will not turn back direct again until December 15th.
Okay.
So from that period, from November 26th through December 15th, Mercury is going to be retrograde. So allow extra time for your appointments. Double check your confirmation codes if you're going to travel. Get to the airport super early. Get insurance on what you're mailing. Call up and double check. So I ordered this and you would see this order, kind of thing. We need to be more patient. So it's going to be a tad annoying when you're trying to buy everything and do a party and the kids have stuff going on. Take a breath. Make sure you're grounding yourself. Do not overload yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. You don't need to do that to yourself. I have a client who said that she makes herself crazy because she buys, let's say, a little doctor's kit for her grandchild. You'd think that would be the end of it. No. Then she shops 22 different stores to see if she's got a better doctor kit, or a bigger doctor kit, or a doctor kit that has a thermometer in it.
Wow.
And last year she was so proud of herself. She said, Susan, I didn't do that. I ordered this gift and I was done. And I said, and did it go? She said, it was fine. They didn't care. It was great.
Yeah.
And she just took that albatross off her neck. So make it easy on yourself. Don't be afraid to delegate. Do your shopping early. Keep your receipts. Keep your confirmation codes. If you have to go somewhere and travel, make sure you're allowing extra time, confirm everything. And
Yeah.
no, some things are going to go wrong. There's going to be some blips. There's going to be some delays. Welcome to modern life. That's what it is. But it'll pass. So by Christmas, on the 25th, it'll be over. It'll be past, because on the 15th, it will turn direct again. When energies appear to be going retrograde, they become more intense. So a lot of our thoughts may become deeper, or a lot of our thoughts may become more powerful. It is a wonderful time with Mercury retrograde to manifest, because we get quiet and we go within. It's a wonderful meditation. Yes, our outer world becomes a bit more annoying, but our inner world becomes more rich and satisfying. So don't ignore the inner life. When we have a lot going on, we have responsibilities and demands, life is coming at us. Make sure you're taking some time to go within, to meditate, to pay attention to your dreams, to talk to your spirit guides. I just decided last week I'm going to do something about spirit guides, because lots of times in a reading, I'll say, well, your guides are here and they're telling me this or this. And they'll be like, oh, I wish I could talk to them. And I'm like, you can talk to them. I'm just amazed at how many people don't have that connection.
Yeah.
So if you can start looking at that, that's a wonderful way to use this energy.
Absolutely.
I know you use this all the time.
Well, I try to at least. I can feel the ups and I can feel the ups and downs, and when it's hit me over the head, I can feel the shifts and stuff. And that's why I like doing these predictions with you, because it is a heads up for humanity, and we're in the thick of it. So like I was saying, or like you were saying, we got to bring out the tools out of our toolbox that we know that work, like mindfulness. That is one of the things that I practice. I listen to a meditation. I fall asleep to a meditation every single night. And then even when I'm, we'll say doing my makeup and my hair, I'm listening to a book on tape. I'm not listening to the radio. I have no idea what's out there on the radio nowadays. I have no idea what song is number one, because I'm listening to Audible, or I'm listening to my uplifting Spotify list that I created. Like it's literally like I've created my own little world around me, and outside of it, I don't care what's happening outside of it, because I'm having a party in my own little world, in my own little bubble. And so I've created my happiness, and I think you guys should too. It is a constant evolutionary process for sure. But once you find that joy within yourself, once you get in touch with that inner happiness, no one can ever take that from you. So get into that flow, because that is conducive with what is coming in for people who know how to work with it, because it is a doozy of an energy. Like you said, it can be explosive. It can be, and even look at all of the crazy weather that you guys have had down there, and the destruction. We talked about it. I've talked all year about watch out, crazy weather is coming your way. Now, I do want to say this, and I hope I'm not like censored for it or anything, but I do believe that Mother Nature did not create those storms, and from what I understand, there was a lot of cloud seeding going on in the areas that those storms hit, and I've seen it myself too. It's literally like the chemtrails are all over the place nowadays, and I'm just saying, it makes you wonder, because if you start digging down that rabbit hole, you'll see all these patents for weather modification. They've been doing it for years. And I said at the beginning of this year, and I think I even said it last year, I said, weather modification will be used as a means to war. It's a way to wipe out a whole city very quickly without having to take blame or responsibility for it, right? But it's also the same thing with, if they want to wipe out a city and create a new one in a different way, like a 15-minute city, it's a very quick way to do that. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't put it past anyone to have done something like that, because I already think this world is at World War III. We're knocking on the doorstep. We're literally on the doorstep of World War III. And I hate to say it, but I kind of feel too that the US election, um, it can push us in that direction of World War III, or it can take us away from it. I just think that there's a lot globally that's hinging on this election. I do.
Yeah,
And the other thing
absolutely.
that I wanted to say too, that I keep hearing and I keep seeing spirit showing me, is that you guys, you've really got to understand that not everybody who's walking around in a meat suit is human. They may look really human, they may act really human, but if you could actually see them interdimensionally, you'd see that they're not, and that they're from somewhere else. And I'm working on putting a video together about what I experienced in England. I showed you that picture of the shapeshifter, the lizard person that I caught on tape out there, right? Didn't I? I think I shared it with you.
I
That,
remember you
that was
telling me about it. I
that was
think
sitting
you
in the
sent a
Queen's
picture for
box.
it.
Yeah, I'm working on doing a video about it. But I know it's quite out there. It really is, but I caught it on tape, so you guys can draw your own conclusion when you watch that one. Hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have that one up. But I think that there is going to be more and more revelations with these human beings that aren't human beings. I think that we are going to catch more on tape. I think that there is going to be a lot more open discussion, and I think that there is going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Bringing out the information on all these alien societies that walk among us. And to me, it still is a little bit mind blowing and very far fetched. But knowing what I know, I can't doubt it. And knowing what I've seen, I absolutely can't doubt it, because I've seen it with my own eyes. But I'll explain that in a video, because I've met a shapeshifter before and I caught one on camera when I was out in England at the Royal Albert Concert Hall. So yeah, I'll share that in another video. But anyways, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I think there is going to be more talk of this, more possibly even more sightings of aliens and ships, or people saying that they're seeing more. It's going to get weirder. It's going to continue to get weirder. And I just think that our governments hold back a lot of information from us, well, and rightfully so. It could cause mass hysteria if people actually knew what was happening out there all of a sudden, right? But yeah, I think that disclosure, that's the word I'm looking for. I think there's going to be more disclosure coming up,
Okay.
especially in 2025. I feel like there's going to be more disclosure than ever before. We talked, I think it was 2022 or 2023. Disclosure was like the word of the year, right? But then this big disclosure never happened. Didn't happen. I personally think that if Trump was to get in, that he is going to unveil a lot of secrets when it comes to ancient civilizations and aliens and all of that stuff, right? I mean, think about it. Why did he start the Space Force? He obviously knows something that the rest of the world isn't, putting two and two together on. Yeah, I just, regardless, and I'm not gonna comment on the election because I think it's just one big shit show, if you ask me. Sorry, excuse my French. Down there, and Canada is
You nailed it.
Canada's no better. It's no better. Like I knew. I know that I know that Trudeau is going to go before the next election. I know he is. And I made the prediction that I saw him being ousted with his tail between his legs in June of 2024. And I've talked about this every time because I'm keeping a very close eye on this unfolding. And yes, he was out in June of 2024. Two very, very, very important by-elections he lost. And he's had those ridings for 30 years. So whatever happened in June, it sparked a big snowball of a whole pile of MPs wanting him out. And people within his own party have started a campaign to get him out. And they already have 30 signatures, I believe, on it of his own caucus telling him, you need to go. You need to gotta get out. You gotta go. Right? And I know that this all stems back. That's when the snowball started forming, was June. I can't
Surprised
believe
he's
that.
still in office,
I
quite
know.
frankly.
I was just about to say that. I cannot believe that narcissist is hanging on so hard to what he knows he's broken. Like it is horrible. I don't know any Canadian really that can even listen to that guy talk anymore. His voice is like nails on a chalkboard to me. But I still believe firmly
It's
that
like the liberal part of your party doesn't like him, but the conservative part of your party doesn't like him either. It's
nobody
like,
likes Trudeau.
but he just doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's very
Is
much
there
the
a
narcissist.
woman? I keep seeing like a woman. Is there a woman that would be running for MP or I keep getting a female energy and it's not his spouse, it feels political. Is there
Well,
like an opponent of his that's a woman?
no, the only woman that I would say that stands out beside him is Chrystia Freeland. And she's the deputy prime minister. The most annoying voice you've ever heard in your life. It's like, oh God, she's even worse than him. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible trying to listen to the House of Commons when they're out there talking. But yeah, they're both World Economic Forum puppets. She sits on the board of the World Economic Forum. And I truly believe that anybody who sits on the board of the World Economic Forum, so does Trudeau, absolutely should not have control of our country, especially when someone like Klaus Schwab, who is in charge of the World Economic Forum, he's the originator of it, he sat there and was bragging about how he's infiltrated the cabinetry of every government around the world. This is world domination that this guy wants. It isn't just one country that he's messing with. He's literally planted his people in every government. And both Chrystia Freeland and Trudeau are part of that. They're World Economic Forum puppets. And so I know that if you guys do not agree with the World Economic Forum, and if you've never heard of it, you got to start looking it up. These are the people who say you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. They're the ones with the 15-minute city ideologies where everybody is connected. Eventually, they want to microchip everybody so that they know everything about you. This microchip will have everything on it. Your birth records, your SIN number, your criminal records, what you ate for dinner. It will work with your body's systems. And you are the battery for this chip. It works literally off of your body's energy, your biofield energy. It's already out there. Like they're already doing it out in England and and in the UK, I'm sure they even have somewhere in the States too, where the person waves their hand over over the device and it pays for their food or it opens the door for them, right? Yeah, that's because they're microchipped. And then once you're microchipped, you cannot hide. They know exactly, it's a tracking device. They'll know exactly where you are, right? This is all World Economic Forum next level, what they have in store for humanity if we continue to allow these World Economic Forum puppets into our governments. So before anybody votes, anywhere all over the world, see if the people that are campaigning are associated with the World Economic Forum, because you do not want that. It's a world globalist agenda. It's world domination. There's no such thing as freedom or democracy with the World Economic Forum. You will own nothing and you will be happy. How lovely to be told that, right? So anyways, I didn't mean to go off on that. That's not part of the monthly predictions, but it is coming back up. That's the thing. In 2021, people were talking about this. And then all of a sudden it died out. And it's like, hello, did you forget there is still systems at play here that are pushing us towards this. So be careful how you vote. Do your homework. And that goes for any country, but I know in ours, Trudeau, Christian
Absolutely.
Freeland, they're all part of it. And that's scary because that's an ideology that's global, not just per country. So, yeah.
Well, what we're going to see, well, in November, Pluto goes back into Aquarius, and it's going to stay there from now on. It's not going to go back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius. And Aquarius is the antithesis of all that you've been talking about, because what you've been talking about is world domination, power, this kind of thing, leadership, authority. But Aquarius is freedom, independence, progress, progression, cutting edge. People do not want to be told what to do when Aquarius energy is strong. So we're really going to start to see in the next 10 years and this next decade, from 2025 to 2035, we're going to see some major shifts. The people of different countries, and I'm not limiting this United States or Canada, countries all over the world are going to start demanding freedom. No, we're not doing it that way anymore. We want this power to the people kind of thing. So we are definitely going to be seeing pushback against all of this. Now, I don't know as much about the World Economic Forum, but I'll tell you, I'm going to look it up as soon as we finish this, so I can understand more about it. But I keep hearing, when I meditate on the future, when I meditate on 2025, I keep hearing the light wins. The light wins. We may have to push against dark energy, but ultimately, the light wins.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
I 100% agree with you there. Totally. Wow. So, yeah, and have you heard of the term the Great Reset? Have you heard that term?
Yes.
The Great Reset?
I have heard that term.
That's Klaus Schwab's turn. Klaus Schwab wrote a book called The Great Reset.
I did not know
And
that.
all of his ideologies are outlined in that book. And I would hate for people to buy that book and put money in that guy's pocket. So it's on PDF. You can find a PDF file online, read it for free. Don't give that man any of your money. But yeah, that's where that term comes from. So I know that's why we're here for it. We're here for the fight. We're here to be able to stand in our power. And, I gotta say that the pandemic really taught me that, because that's when I learned to get vocal. That's when I was like, okay, hold off, people. If I can actually see your auric field change when you got that thing, there's something not right here. Because literally it looked like fuzz, black and white and gray fuzz in someone's auric field when they got vaccinated. And so for me, I was like, this isn't right. This isn't right. Something's not right here. So for me, it didn't, but by me getting vocal and being honest about my ideologies and what I was seeing, I think of how many people it gave them strength to stand in their power and go, okay, I feel the same way. Thank God we feel this together. I'm not going crazy. You're not going crazy. Okay, let's stand in our power together, because there's strength in numbers. Right. So I believe in the heart and love of humanity. And it's time to really bring that out. And we may have to be standing in our power again next year, because 2025, and I know you've heard me say it so many times, but 2025 doesn't feel good. I can feel that mounting energy where it's like, ugh, 2025 is another year where it's like, it doesn't. So
there's a lot happening in 2025, but even if it's challenging on the national, international level, that doesn't mean it cannot be empowering on the personal level.
Yeah.
And once we're empowered on the personal level, we can help the national, international levels. Yeah. So yes, it's going to be a big year, but we're going to be prepared. We're going to be prepared for that year.
We see it coming, and we'll warn you guys. Well, if we see any huge things, or if you see, like I said, me popping on to Facebook or YouTube going, come pray with me, come pray with me, it's because I saw something. So come pray with me, be a part of that Light Warriors prayer group. And yeah, because yeah, we've got work to do. So with that being said, was there anything else that you wanted to share, Susan?
No, that's it. That's enough. We got enough
Yeah.
going on in
That was a lot.
November.
Yeah, that was a lot. And you know, it makes sense that that next year has all those planetary shifts and stuff because I could feel that shift. I could feel it. So I'm really interested to see how this all plays out. I really am. So,
And
um,
some people are already starting to feel it.
and Susan, what day did we decide for our chat? Because we're gonna do a live class where you guys can actually ask us questions and we will answer them. You can ask personal questions because I don't usually do that. You can ask personal questions and we are going to tune in for you and answer them. We've got a lot that we're going to be sharing together as a class. I can't wait. Our first class together. This is going to be fun. What day was that? December 30th or 31st? Which one was that?
I think we said the 30th.
30th?
We
Okay.
talked about the 31st, but settled on the 30th.
30th. Okay, so I will be posting that. I will give you guys a heads up. It'll be posted on my website at www.patriciamona.com, but I'll also do a posting on my community page on my YouTube as well. And then Susan, how can our lovely viewers get a hold of you?
They can go to my website, www.exploreastrology. There's contact information and there's also free information for every one of the 12 signs every month. So I too will be posting about this as we get a little bit closer. Patricia and I are already so excited about this. So
Yeah.
absolutely keep checking and keep seeing what's coming up. We'll be posting more and more about it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody so much for joining us. Again, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so because then you won't miss it. If I have to do an emergency, anything, you're there and we can jump into action together. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Susan. And
My pleasure.
God
Bye.
bless
We'll see you
everybody.
next month.
Yes. Take care. Bye for now.
You too.